So I got absolutely demolished in 2021. I was beaten and broken by one video. Just one. That's all it took. A very special video, mind you. Probably the craziest phenomenon that has ever occurred in my niche, which comes to us courtesy of Mr. Ohara, aka Manu, who I don't know how to describe. I guess he's an YouTuber who does cover One Piece, but he also wants to expand much wider than that. In any case, he made a video titled The Best One Piece Theory You'll Ever Watch, I guess, which at the time of this recording has 3.2 million views, and most of those were gathered in its initial weeks. Now that might not sound like a whole lot on YouTube in general, but for what we do, it's an impossible number, especially in such a short amount of time. This number is so large that this video is only one of 2 cases in my entire YouTube history that someone else's video has been able to cannibalize my own, which is another one of those freak out moments where I thought that my career was just over in a second before I realized what was going on. How did this video do this? Well, the reasons. First up, the title is quite brilliant, like subtly brilliant. It almost sounds underwhelming when you say it. The best One Piece theory you'll ever watch, I guess. Quite plain, but that's its core advantage. Generally, theories in this niche will cover very specific topics like, say, the raid on Onigashima will fail, stuff like that. And the risk with that kind of video is that you can only interest so many people with such a specific topic. However, in the case of this video, the title is so general that anyone with a passing knowledge of One Piece can click it despite having no idea what it's actually about. All that you know is that it must be something big because it very boldly claims to be the best theory you'll ever watch. However, interestingly enough, it also kind of insulates itself against serious criticism with the addendum of the I guess, which gives it a fun flippant vibe. Like this is big stuff we're talking about, but we're not taking ourselves too seriously, which I do think is important when talking about fictional pirates. This title walks a very fine line though, because general titles also risk not giving the viewer enough of a solid hook to be interested. Manga chapter reviewers have this problem, for example. People who title their video something like One Piece Chapter 1036 Review. It's too general and far too bland, and most importantly, there is no emotional connection with it. But in Ohara's case, I would argue that the heavy lifting in that regard is done by the thumbnail. The title itself honestly probably falls completely flat without the right thumbnail. And immediately you can see the contrast here, where the title was so vague to the point of giving you no information whatsoever, the thumbnail does the exact opposite and almost overloads you with recognizable One Piece iconography. You know, we've got the island of Jaya, we've got Enies Lobby, and even the sun god Nika snuck in there. Again, this walks a very fine line because it's very easy to overstuff thumbnails to the point where they just become an unrecognizable mess. But the fact that green is a predominant color here really helps. It's a nice vibrant element that pops out against the sepia background, so everything is just recognizable enough that it sparks curiosity as to how all of this is connected. And then of course you have the character of Roger. No matter what your niche is, there are going to be certain subjects that are more appealing than others. And in One Piece, Roger is what I would call a golden character, because he is top tier for clickability in my experience. Other characters in this tier would be, say, Blackbeard and Shanks. They tend to do very well. Whereas characters like, say, Nami and Frankie, they sadly don't command attention in the same way as Roger. And importantly, Roger is laughing in the thumbnail, which series fans will recognize as a very key moment, but even those who don't, they still recognize the emotion. And creating an emotional connection, no matter what that is essential. And it's also very easy to forget about because a lot of anime creators attempted to use, like the cool stoic images, a lot of which end up being the equivalent of just, like looking at a well-painted brick wall. King is a good example of a character like this because he wears his BDSM gear at all time, and as a result, you're not going to get a lot of emotion from that character, which is why I never use him in thumbnails, even if he is incredibly relevant to the video. Next thing. Length. You've probably heard somewhere before that size doesn't matter, and yeah, that's true. Except for when it comes to YouTube, and of course, penises. Now this video is just under 23 minutes long, which is another area that Ohara has walked a very, very fine line with. When videos start to reach that 24 to 25 minute mark, that's when people consider their time a lot more. So I said this in my teching video, but it's a stat worth repeating. The average person spends 41.9 minutes on YouTube per day across multiple videos. So it becomes very dangerous when you offer a video that's more than half of that allocation, and it can be quite off-putting. But in this case, seeing the 22-minute number is, it's fine. It's a very low barrier to entry because it feels like an easy time commitment to make. Simultaneously though, because it is over 20 minutes, it also feels like there's a lot of value to be had here, as opposed to say a 10-minute video, which is more of a quick fix sort of thing. Not that I think Ohara was consciously thinking about that. I feel like he just made the video as long as he felt it needed to be because that's the kind of guy he is. But I would argue that that it ended up being a pretty ridiculously perfect length for what the video is. And that's the thing, this video is a perfect storm of elements coming together, and if any one of them was off even slightly, this phenomenon probably doesn't happen. But then there's the video itself. The actual content, it's incredibly well produced and presented, with a lot of very fast moving elements. The video pacing doesn't really allow you to stop and think about what's happening, so it's almost like a roller coaster of fictional pirate speculation. There's not a lot of downtime for viewers' minds to wander and go, which means that they're less likely to, just scan to the right and find a more interesting video to click. And I suspect that the viewer retention for this video is quite high, or at least it was quite high before it got pushed into a more general audience, which is the final step in the cycle of a viral video. Everything about the packaging, the thumbnail, the title, and the time presents a low barrier to entry, whilst promising quality, and of course the retention sends a message to YouTube to keep pushing this video out as far as it can possibly go, which again right now is 3.2 million views. Very importantly though, these are not unique viewers. The 3.2 million number accounts for people watching the video twice and stuff like that. And going by what I know from my channel, the unique number is usually 4/5 of the view count in total. So in this case, we could estimate maybe 2.7 million unique viewers. And you know what? Let's be incredibly ungenerous. Disingenuous. Let's be incredibly not generous. Let's say that there are just 2 million unique viewers. That is still an arse ton of people. More than you would think possible, because even at the very top of the One Piece game currently, we're talking about maybe 200,000 unique viewers, which is a very important lesson this video taught me. The fan base is a lot deeper than any of us realized. It's like exploring the Mariana Trench for the first time and seeing all kinds of blobfish that happen to like One Piece. That analogy works, right? But realistically, there are potentially more than 10 times my current audience out there on YouTube that I just haven't broken through to yet, which is very inspiring, because before this video came out, I thought that we were pretty much at the peak. But as it turns out, we had barely started climbing the mountain. And a lot of that is our fault as creators for clearly not making our content accessible to those greater spheres of people. We've been a bit too specific and too niche for too long. So that really reinvigorated me personally and basically kicked me up the arse, because it told me that I had a lot of work to do, but that work could be done. The idea of a One Piece channel hitting 1 million subscribers one day isn't just possible now, it's inevitable. Inevitable provided the creator keeps these lessons in mind. Now, as for what it did to me personally, this happens to be the victim in question. This video was posted a couple of days after Ohara's theory had taken off, and when I uploaded it, it got 50% of the average views of a Grand Line review video, and it has never recovered since, because it didn't get pushed out to that initial sphere of people, so everything got contained. And I get that there are problems with it. For example, Chopper is not a golden character. I discovered that he, cute as he is not a clickable boy. And the video is a bit on the nichier side of niche, because it is talking about the meta aspects of One Piece. But still, it got slaughtered like nothing before it, because people's recommendations were clogged with the best One Piece theory you'll ever see, I guess. Now that scared the absolute fecal matter out of me, because I thought that there had been an algorithm change and that I just lost half of my audience pretty much overnight. But as Ohara's video died down, mine returned to a state of normalcy, and thank crap for that. Now, speaking of, as a result of this video, Ohara actually has a direct line to by far the largest collective of One Piece fans on the entire YouTube platform. His One Piece videos absolutely thrash mine in terms of raw views, because he has such incredible reach as a result of this video. Now that is a bit of a double-edged sword, because Ohara is not a One Piece exclusive channel. He definitely wants to be more general, which I imagine can be quite demoralizing, because the contrast between One Piece content and not One Piece content is pretty stark. And that's really tough, because if you can make videos that will get 500,000 views easily, and others that get say 70,000 at best, then that 500,000 is gonna look mighty tempting. So I'm very interested to see where Ohara decides to steer the ship. He also experiments a lot with YouTube Shorts to varying results. That's probably his biggest advantage. He keeps experimenting. He takes the good results, discards the bad ones, and then just continues to refine his activities. And whether he keeps doing One Piece predominantly or not, I am almost certain that his channel will surpass Grand Line Review one day. Not without a fight, of course, because I like being on top, but what he does is quite exciting and definitely reinvigorating for the space. And I really should do a general channel analysis on him at some stage, but there is also something else important we should note here, which is the sequel video to the One Piece theory. Given that he found such wild success with the first, he would have been insane not to make another, and there is a lot that we can learn from this as well. It's currently called The Best One Piece Theory You'll Ever Watch But Better. However, I'm pretty sure that's not the original title, because I think I remember something about Eam, but I'm not sure about that. Doesn't matter, the video did well. It's sitting at over 1 million views, but it suffers from a few key things. Firstly, I don't want to be that guy again, but look at the length of this here video. This is 41 minutes, almost twice as long as the original theory, which sure, it's a sequel, so it's meant to be bigger and better, but this is too bigger. That is well and truly into the length where we are seriously questioning our click out of time concerns, because in the average case, that is the entire daily YouTube allocation. Next, the thumbnail. The elements are a lot more, let's say, abstract than the original. For example, the sunlight tree Eve is the center there, and that's not a particularly well-known landmark. In fact, we've never even seen the full thing in the series, and the only reason why I know what it is because I am a fictional pirate freak. And if you haven't watched this series, please tell me who this character is. And as a clue, yes, they've got 3 eyes, but it is not pudding. It's meant to be a representation of Eam, who is a very mysterious and interesting character, but far from a golden one in my opinion. I mean, we'll see, I'm going to test that one out for myself shortly in the future. But also the expression, it's like what I talked about before, very stern, stoic, and an overall kind of emotionless void. There's not really any emotional connection to be made here, and that's a problem, because when you're looking at it on a homepage, it will be surrounded by videos that do make you feel something. And also the fact that Eam's name appears in the thumbnail takes away some of the general appeal of the original theory, because we are now dealing with a very specific topic. And it's just a great example of what I was talking about, the original theory being that perfect storm of elements, where if any one of them was even slightly off, then that wild success probably doesn't happen. This sequel video is that in action. The elements are all slightly off, and they don't create that wonderful lightning in a bottle. It's also important to note that the video was posted almost 2 months after the original, and in my opinion, that's probably too late for a sequel. Time on YouTube just moves so incredibly fast. A month is basically a whole year on this platform. So by the time Ohara got the second one up and running, the buzz of the first had well and truly vanished. Who cares though, right? 1 million views is still amazing, and with that, I might have even made a third part. But make no mistake, the original video was a flashpoint in my niche. People have seriously learned from this, and I think content creators across the board have seriously stepped up their game, including me. In fact, I still need to take more steps. So many more steps. So thank you, Ohara, for this valuable learning experience. However, you will need to apologize to Chopper for ruining his video.